All right, ladies and gentlemen, so I got a pretty interesting video for you today. This one's coming to us from Khalif Booty Adams, aka the Dragon Age Shill, that wanted to shill for a game that he couldn't pay for and begged for a review code on his Twitter page because obviously the modern audience doesn't support games that they actually say, that they want or are made for them. But Booty Adams just recently had a clip that he posted on Twitter that I found to be very interesting, but he's talking about the recent Ubisoft earnings call and how the developers have realize, or at least are giving validity to the arguments that we are having where this stuff is affecting sales. You can be fake positive all you want, but at the end of the day, all this stuff that you've been doing with DEI and all this nonsense, it's very clear that it is affecting sales and turning people off.
I am shocked. Shocked. Well, not that shocked.
Now, of course, ladies and gentlemen, what Booty Adams is going to do is he's going to try his absolute hardest to try to make it seem like this is not the case. He's going to try his hardest to keep his grift going, which is essentially, let's be fake positive about everything so that we can get media access, we can get mainstream gaming access, and we can get our free stuff because God knows his ass is too damn broke to buy anything on his own. So let's get into this video, guys. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. Now, he made this post here, and it says, I absolutely love seeing developers standing up for their work and pushing back against bad actors like we've seen in the conversation around Assassin's Creed. We don't need to spend energy on fake issues. I spoke on Spawn, whatever his stupid-ass podcast that nobody watches. Now, I want you guys to understand something. This is the same Assassin's Creed that got delayed. This is the same Assassin's Creed that is currently spending $20 million to fix it in 6 months. This is that Assassin's Creed, okay? So you're trying to sit there and pretend like Ubisoft is defending their product when Ubisoft has basically openly admitted that the product sucked and they needed another 6 months in order to make it a little bit better and to fix the issues within the game that we were all calling out, and they were blaringly obvious that everybody who wasn't fake positivity peddling online. But let's watch this video and let's break it down, put the volume at maximum, and let's see what this big guy's got to say.
Titillo put out this piece. There was a Ubisoft stakeholder meeting, quarterly meeting, and one of the parts that was discussed here was, and this is paraphrasing, and I'm going to read it. What
my man is chewing his fucking nails on camera, bro. Like, you serious right now? You're trying to pretend to be the epitome of professionalism, and my man is chomping on his fingers live on camera for everyone. Like, it's just cool. I'm just making sure I get every little bit of dirt in these. That's nasty.
What Stephen Titillo said. Shout out to Stephen Titillo, who needs to come on the show. We need to get him on. Company again hints that the anti-woke attacks on its games have hurt sales. Executive committee has talking about actions aimed at tackling the dynamics behind the polarized comments around Ubisoft, so as to protect the group's reputation and maximize our game's sales potential.
Now, I want to make it very clear. It's not anti-woke attacks that are on any studio or game. What's happening is that people are getting access to information that before was inaccessible, right? The gaming industry is not for transparency. This is one of the biggest issues with the gaming industry. It's something I talk about quite often. I think I talk about transparency more than I talk about any woke shit. If you guys have noticed, a lot of my fucking titles for my videos now barely have the word woke in it, because at the end of the day, I'm more focused on transparency. Transparency is huge, and we don't have it in the gaming industry. They don't want to be transparent. They absolutely want to hide as much information as they possibly can, because the more that they hide, the more that it benefits them. So it's not anti-woke attacks. It's just people getting access to information and spreading it out there for people to consume, and you don't like it. That's what it is. You don't like people having this information, because then it makes your job harder to be a fake positivity peddler online in order to get media access, game access, and free stuff. That's why you don't like it.
So this is important. And I think the reason why this is important is because one of the things that we have seen, and again, this goes back and dovetails around to what the BS that Grums and all these grifters are doing.
Again, we're grifters, but this is the man who says that he supports DEI and all this racial diverse video games, all this shit, right? He says he supports it, and yet he was caught on Twitter begging for a free review code for Dragon Age the Veilguard. He would not monetarily support the things that he says he supports on Twitter. That is the actual definition of a grifter. He is conning people. He is lying to people. He is frauding people, and he is frauding studios. He's making them get convinced that he is on their side when in fact he's not on their side because he doesn't actually support them in any tangible way. He's only doing it to get his free stuff, to make himself look more legitimate, and to put himself out there as the mainstream voice or whatever. I don't even know what to call it. Mainstream voice of the gaming industry, when in fact he's anything but that, because I'm pretty sure I'm one of 6 viewers on this podcast. I'm not even actually watching the podcast. I'm watching a clip. So there's that.
Is their whole thing is that they want to defund the gaming industry. They want to.
Nobody said that. Nobody said that. We don't want to defund the gaming industry. We want people to stop wasting fucking money on nonsense that nobody wants. Nobody wants. The only people who want this are people like you who say they want it, but then won't pay for it, right? So if you won't pay for it, if you won't be an actual customer, then I think the real customer should have a bigger voice than you, in my opinion.
To make it so that games that supposedly have racial positivity and DEI compliant features.
Nobody cares about racial positivity. We've been playing games with diverse characters for decades. Where the fuck have you been? Where have you been? We've been playing games that have been diverse for decades. We are only now recently, over the last few years, noticing that the industry has decided to weaponize that diversity and use it superficially to the point where now it makes all POCs have to be looked at with a raised eyebrow because nobody knows whether or not they've been a DEI hire or not. Because corporations and studios have decided to make it publicly known information that they purposely hire people based on just skin color alone. And you can't say it's based off merit because you cannot compare your merit unless you're comparing it to everybody who is readily available for the role. If you're only comparing your merit to people of the same skin color, then you are meritless, in my opinion.
Are no longer made in the space because they're either really bad, they don't want them, or they put politics into their games in a way that doesn't feel reasonable or feels shoehorned in. Right?
That's exactly what it is. You guys shoehorn in all this shit and people call it out nonstop. We can spot bullshit a mile away. We can spot the superficial diversity a mile away. We can tell the difference between a studio that actually gives a shit, like Larian, for example, or a studio that just shoehorns it in and is trying to preach to you, like BioWare. There's a big, big difference.
What stands out to me in this conversation is the fact that now some of that is trickling upward.
Good.
In a way that I believe is a slippery slope.
But you're perfectly fine with the slippery slope that we are currently on right now, where people of color, unfortunately, now have to be looked at with a side eye every time we even remotely bring them up in a video game, movie, entertainment, whatever. You know, people do the same thing with Hispanics, too. I deal with the same shit as well. So you're okay with that slippery slope. You're okay with making things harder for us, but you're not okay with actually having the slippery slope go the other direction.
And the reason I say that is because we currently have an industry in which we as an industry are very afraid of talking back to the audience, because those are the folks who pay for the games that we make. Yep. Those are the people who, to a certain extent, are.
Go ahead, say it.
You know,
say it, Adams. Say it.
Providing us a livelihood through the work that we do as people who work in the video game industry, through the games that they purchase.
There it is. There it is. That's what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So, Adams, you finally admit all of it. You admit that it is the gamers that give you guys your salaries. It's the gamers that give you guys the money it needs to be operating under the studio, whatever, even though you're not a developer, to my knowledge. But still, the mainstream gaming industry survives on gamers. You guys have been actively advocating against gamers on Twitter, attacking people left and right for their own personal ideologies. But the hilarious thing is you're admitting here that they, in fact, are required in order for you to continue. So maybe you should start giving gamers what they actually want instead of telling people and preaching to them about diversity, equity, and inclusion when nobody's buying your bullshit.
By saying this out loud, this adds a potential layer of validity to a thing that we don't have any metrics on.
There it is.
And that's dangerous.
We have the metrics. What the fuck are you talking about? There's the whole reason why they're talking about this in the earnings call. They have the metrics. Sales are down drastically. We're not talking about minorly. We're talking drastically. Games that would have sold ages ago, right, are now down drastically because people are realizing what is going on. And you're correct to an extent. It's not just the DEI nonsense. It's not just the woke nonsense. But if you paid attention to the conversations that are happening around you, especially with these supposed grifters that you like to call us, you would realize that we talk about a multitude of things that are happening in the gaming industry and entertainment as a whole that are contributing to these factors, but you don't want to acknowledge any of them because you are personally involved. You have skin in the game. This is an industry that you are reliant on, and if you see this industry go down, you go down with it. That's the beautiful thing about this. And you know this. You know that you're not getting paid for this shit. You know that your payment isn't a form of access. Your payment isn't a form of free stuff, but you're not actually monetarily paid. So if these industries start taking away and defunding themselves, guess what they're defunding? They're defunding those free games that you're getting. They're defunding those free PS5s that you're getting. They're defunding all this free product that you're getting. And then before you know it, you're going to realize, damn, this is not worth it because of all this shilling I do for free stuff, but I'm not getting free stuff. That's what Booty Adams is most scared about.
Because what it winds up doing is it signals out to the people who are like Mark Kern that all of these ginned up ideas.
You guys find it odd, the obsession that they have with Grums? Like, they never mention anybody else because we're all Voldemort to them, but they'll mention Grums. It's a weird thing. You want to know why they mention Grums? Because as much good or bad that Grums does, at the end of the day, he has actual industry experience. And it's not just a light amount of experience. We're talking about a heavy amount of experience in the industry, more than these people ever have. And they hate him for that because they're looking at him like, why are you doing this? Why are you talking out with all your experience? Why are you talking out against the industry right now? You are hurting us. People like this hate Mark Kern because he's hurting them.
Is, and all of these things are affecting sales in a way that is actually causing problems for games that are coming out. Now, mind you, it's a hard thing to talk about because
no, it's not. It's not hard for anybody that actually wants to see tangible change. It's only hard for people like you that don't actually want to see any tangible change. You just want to keep asking for review codes on Twitter.
No one is taking metrics on wokeness. No one is doing the number crunching on what games are woke, what games are politically charged in a way that feels untainable or unsustainable to folks in this circle.
Nobody's doing metrics, but people are cataloging them. People are cataloging games and looking through games and reviewing games and actually playing games. I know it's something you don't do. I get it. But we are actually playing games and looking through them and seeing what's wrong with them, what's good about them, and giving feedback to people. Especially, I mean, listen, Abu Bakr Salim was in every single one of my Tales of Kenzera Zhao streams, and we were joking around, we were talking, we were conversing, and I was giving him live feedback. That is more tangible. That is better change than anything you can ever personally do on your bullshit positivity peddling stream. That's more than anything you'll be able to do, and you can't stand it.
3, no one is counting these circles of people because they are they're lumped in with all gamers, right? It's not like if you went to the anti-woke space and was like, yo, let's take a survey of all of you so we can figure out what damage you're doing to the space. So this then changes the conversation in a much broader way because now companies like Ubisoft are potentially thinking about the impact that is happening to them around an issue that doesn't exist.
Okay, so if it doesn't exist, why are they constantly losing sales? I'm going to put it to you like this, my friend. I'm going to put it to you like this. You are trying to pass off the argument like, oh, because you can't actually put it on a bar graph because you can't, or nobody's doing it to the point where they're counting metrics or anything like that, then you're essentially saying that the argument is invalid. I'm going to put it to you like this. You want a valid argument? Here we go. I, the supposed grifter, buy my games, give money to these companies, buy the games, and review them objectively. No matter what you want to say, that's what I do. You can go watch my streams. I buy the games, I support the games, and I review them tangibly, right? If I'm going to make money playing these games, the least I can do is give them some money to see what it's really about, right? Because I put my money where my mouth is. You, on the other hand, have been caught not doing that. For the person who's supposedly on the side of the gaming industry, you have been caught multiple times not actually giving money to these studios. So you are leeching off the studios. You are a parasite. So then the studios have to sit back and say, okay, well, let's look at this. The supposed non-grifters don't buy our games. The supposed grifters do buy our games. So why are we listening to the non-grifters who don't actually support us in any tangible way when we have the supposed grifters that do monetarily support us and are giving us live feedback that we could watch and study and give to our teams to get actual, real, tangible feedback, both good and negative? Whereas you're like, well, first off, I'm not going to buy your game without a free code. And then when you give me that free code, I'm just going to say nothing but positive stuff. Bro, what are you talking about? You guys, that's all the metrics that you need. That's all the metrics that anybody needs to understand what's happening right now. These fake ass positivity peddlers, they're 100% full of shit, and they will do anything and everything they can to maintain that access, baby, because big old Booty Adams ain't gonna want to spend his money that he spends on food to go buy a PS5 and PS5 games and whatnot. He's not gonna do that. He's absolutely not gonna do that. He wants that shit for free so he can keep maintaining that calorie count. That's all he fucking cares about. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you did enjoy. And if you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.